All right, friends, welcome back. This is the second edition of Fireside Chats with Mr. Unger. Again, as your principal, I would like to send out some videos about once a week. Nothing too heavy, just kind of talk about some items, give you in on some of my personality, my background, and how I feel about influencing students and getting them to have the best outcomes they can. Something I would like to look at this week is when we talked last week about doing maybe pushing back when you feel something is not best for the students or is better for the students. Do that. So with that, I can tell you about a time, and this is where I ended up on the other side of that, and it was pretty dramatic. Now, this comes from when I was working at the district level. We had just rolled out, and it was the full virtual school year where we started in virtual. It was the year after we kind of went into the pandemic in March and said, we're breaking up. And we were kind of reactionary on a lot of things there, but since it was new to everyone, nobody really noticed if anything went wrong, as of course, many things did here and there, different schools, different issues, but everybody struggled and we got through it admirably. Very happy with what happened there. Obviously not the pandemic, but as far as getting two students and still making it through the end of that year. The following year, we came in, we were full virtual, and I was working the district IT section, right, with digital innovation. And we work with rolling out all of the districts, the different systems that the students and teachers will use throughout the year. And in that, we have the very crucial things like Google Classroom, making sure schools have their district, their school websites up and running so parents and families know what is going on in the district. Those were going great. We had to do the systems like, what do we have for our reading software? What do we have for our math software? We have all these different pieces and moving parts. We had rolled them out, got them out smoothly. And then we had our meeting. How are we going to be doing all of these synchronous and asynchronous hours with students? So we did lots and lots of training, lots of build up for a month, getting out to teachers before school started using Google Meet, because while we are a digitally agile district, we use Microsoft, we use Google, we use Apple, we hit the three big ones. We use all these different tools. We pull in the best things that will serve our students. We went with Google Meet because it worked really well. And we were pushing out, we were hitting over that 100,000 device mark on Chromebooks in the district. I think now we're around like 240,000 Chromebooks in the district between schools and students at home and moving them around. There's a lot of Chromebooks, and Chromes are on an Android operating system. They obviously play much more friendly with Google. So we were like, Zoom's not allowed. We couldn't use Zoom. We really everybody likes Zoom, but we couldn't use Zoom at the time. We still cannot because they will not do a data sharing agreement with us. So, there's very strict parameters of what we can do with software. So sorry, taking this story a little bit long, but once you kind of get a feel for where we were at, and we were really in a good mood with this. First week of school, students came in, Google Classrooms were up, kids were meeting, attendance was being taken. We were like, outstanding. So happy, right? Especially on the IT tech side, we were like, this is really going well. And then we started school on a Wednesday. Wednesday was great. Thursday was great. Friday hit. Now, Friday became quite concerning. We started to get messages, emails, tickets. Principals started calling in. Assistant superintendents started calling in saying the kids have gone wild on Google Meet. They're sharing out codes. They're doing these things. So hundreds of students are dropping into different meets from Google with teachers because a student will get it. They'll post it on social media, and there's no gateway on Google Meet. At the time, there was not a gate that could say, you can't come in, you can come in, or I can allow one at a time. Anybody could get in. We had a couple classrooms that had built up to 1,000 students during the day because we also could not shut them off without going to the Google console, specifically looking through, finding that one Google Meet and then turning it off. But there were so many different bad behaviors that were going on that became a parent issue. This became very huge within a 10-hour period because there were just drug-related issues, sexual-related issues, things that were going on camera that teachers and adults were like, oh my goodness. So rolling into Saturday, we had the directive from the chiefs above us turning off the superintendent come out. And this is one of the things that I've learned at the district level. It's very interesting how we think things are well planned out or somewhat planned out, even if we don't know about it at the teacher level in the schools. It doesn't matter how well planned out it is. If the superintendent goes in front of the board members and says something, it has now become doctrine. That is what we have to do, even if nobody planned for it. So they were like, yes, we'll just turn off Google Meet and we'll move to something else. We're talking 6,000 teachers, 100,000 students. You know what? We're going to get rid of Google Meet. We're just going to go to another conferencing platform. Well, the only thing we have as an option at the time was Microsoft Teams. Microsoft and a Chromebook does not play well typically with anything because you got Google and Microsoft are two really, opposing factions almost. So I'm typically the calm, cool, collected person looking at these things. And my team, it was a very close-knit team. It was 10 of us. We got Jack and Steve and Jackie, Rebecca, Kathleen, Elaine. We're very calm, cool people typically. It's just part of being on there. We're very fluid, agile, moving with things that changed. When this happened, you could see it creep in. And again, I'm very calm and cool, and I kind of just stayed back, and people were like, what? And you could see, we had chats going back and forth, and everything's virtual at this time. Nobody's in the office, and we can actually communicate. And we had like these little things of panic coming up. There'd be this messaging group. We're like, we can't do that. There's no way. That's just not possible. How are we going to get this out? How are teachers going to know how to use it? And finally, it got to me because it was so many people panicking. I fell into that group panic of what did he say? We cannot possibly do that. And so we had a whole lot of negativity going on. We were pushing back, which was not good because we're really the backbone of what's going out from IT to the district. So it was not a good look for us to be scared and panicking, because how is that going to translate in 150 different schools throughout the district? So when you start to get pushback on things, you need to understand that how can you look at it? And if it's something you're going to have to do, you need to figure out what's the best way to get that done. So once we hit that panic. It was really across the board. Our leader came in and she shut it down. She's a great leader. She knew what was going on. And she basically said what I just said, which was, look, this is what it has to be. This is not safe for our students. We're going to push on the Google side, but for now, we're going to have to go to the Microsoft side, because that's the only way that we can say only these users, these students are allowed in and nobody else can get in. And that'll shut it down. So you guys need to come together, figure out how you're going to train the teachers on this side, how you're going to train the students on this side, and we'll have the other branches send out the software onto the Chromebooks that will push it out, and they will take care of getting it on there. So she very much laid it out, had a plan, and set us on it. And within, Monday was kind of hectic. Oh my goodness. It was very crazy for us. We got our plan down. And then after all of the fires had built up over the weekend, it took about till Thursday or Friday for us to get that quenched down. Finally, the teachers were getting comfortable with it as best they could. The students were starting to figure out how to get to it. Links were going up, and they were using Microsoft Teams on the Chromebooks. So it did happen. It was possible. We just had to get past that initial panic. So be careful with that. The coolest of heads, Jack on the team, he's been doing this IT stuff for like 20 years. And he was one of the ones, like the last ones, like with me, that we hit that panic level, and we never should have. So it was great that we had a leader to pull us in. Know that if you get into panic mode, you need to come see me, come talk to me. Don't ever hesitate and start getting these pockets. New science standards comes down and the PLC goes into lockdown and they're in freak out mode. We can't do these. I don't know what they're doing with this alignment. Don't panic. Don't lock down. Come talk to me and we can get through it together. All right. So a funny piece going off of that, just to kind of wrap that up, within another week after that, we had pushed out. So one, JCPS, and you may not know this, has a lot of leverage with tech companies because of how big we are. We had really leaned on them when we found out this issue with the students. Within about a week, They had new gates put up to where they could toggle students in and out. We could mute them. We could kick them out of the meetings. And so we offered then that teachers, if they wanted, schools, if they wanted, could go back to Google Meets. It was up, running. It was very quick and easy to set up the parameters to let them in and out. And I will say most of the teachers 2 to 3 weeks later had already come back to Google Meet, because it was a little bit frustrating dealing with Microsoft on the Chromebooks, as we had known it would be. But the fact was, everybody got there. Everybody was dealing with it. As aggravating as it was, we did it because, well, again, the kids needed it, and that's how we got to talk to them. But there was no point in panicking. It really gave us a couple days, and then even a few more days getting everybody else back on board after we had panicked about it. So don't panic. Come see me and I will help you, and we will figure out how to get around it or through the issue, whatever it may be. All right. And I'm going to wrap this up for today, and I'll hopefully come see you next week on Sunday night, and we'll have another story and talk about some things that maybe I can give you some information. All right. Everybody have a great weekend, and I will see you tomorrow